The morning sun rose over Sunrise Valley like it did every day. The light was golden and warm. Children ran through the streets toward the school building. Parents waved goodbye from doorways. Farmers walked to their fields. It was a normal day on New Haven. New Haven was a beautiful world. Humans had found it 150 years ago. They built farms and towns. They raised families. The planet had green forests and blue rivers. It was perfect for growing food, perfect for raising children. The galaxy knew humans as newcomers. Other species had traveled the stars for thousands of years. Humans had only joined the Galactic Concord recently. Many alien races thought humans were young and weak. They thought humans were soft and emotional. They did not understand humans at all. The Vethkai were one of these species. They were tall reptilian creatures with scales like green metal. They had ruled dozens of star systems for centuries. They feared no one. Their warriors were brutal. Their merchants were greedy. They saw the human colony on New Haven, and they saw opportunity. Beneath Sunrise Valley lay rare minerals. The Vethkai wanted these minerals. They did not want to trade. They did not want to negotiate. They decided to simply take. Warlord Sithrak commanded the raiding party. He was old and cruel. His scales were scarred from many battles. He had killed thousands in his long life. He looked at the human colony and saw nothing but weak creatures to sweep aside. The attack came without warning. Vethkai ships dropped from the sky like metal rain. Energy weapons burned through buildings. Warriors in heavy armor marched through the streets. People screamed and ran. The humans fought back. Farmers grabbed weapons and fired at the invaders. Security officers organized defenses, but they were too few. The battle was short and brutal. Many humans died that morning, but the worst was yet to come. The children of Sunrise Valley had gathered in the school shelter. This was the safe place. The building was strong. Underground bunkers protected the young ones. Teachers held crying children and promised everything would be okay. Warlord Sithrak stood outside the school. His soldiers reported the location of the shelter. He could have ignored it. He could have taken his minerals and left. Instead, he gave an order that would change the galaxy forever. He ordered his soldiers to collapse the shelter. The explosion was massive. The ground shook. Dust rose into the air, and beneath the rubble lay 47 children. The youngest was 4 years old. The oldest was 12. They had done nothing wrong. They had simply been born on a world that contained something the Vethkai wanted. Sithrak was not finished. His cold reptilian face filled the screen. Behind him, the destroyed schools still burned. "Human colonists," he said, "this is what happens when you stand in our way. Leave these worlds, abandon your claims, or we will do this again and again until none of you remain." He broadcast this message across every human channel. He wanted them to see. He wanted them to fear. He thought terror would make them submit. He was very wrong. The survivors sent distress signals to Earth. News spread quickly. Within hours, every human in the galaxy knew what had happened. They saw the footage. They saw the burning school. They heard the names of the dead children. Among those names were 3 children from the Vance family. Their grandmother was Admiral Helena Vance. She commanded the 3rd Expeditionary Fleet. When she received the news, she sat alone in her quarters for 1 hour. No one knows what she did during that hour. When she emerged, her face was calm. Her eyes were not. On Earth, the United Colonial Parliament gathered for emergency session. Representatives came from every colony, every nation, every settlement. The Great Hall was silent as they watched the Vethkai message play. When it ended, the speaker stood. His voice was steady, but his hands shook. "We have a choice," he said. "We can file protests through diplomatic channels. We can demand justice from the Galactic Concord. We can wait for committees and tribunals. We can be civilized." He paused. The silence stretched. Or we can invoke the doctrine of bloodline accountability. Gasps filled the chamber. The doctrine was an ancient law. It was written into the founding documents of the Galactic Concord itself. It permitted something terrible. When a crime was committed against the children of a species, the victim species could demand total payment, not just from the criminals, from their entire bloodline, their families, everyone who shared their blood. No species had invoked this law in 800 years. It existed only as a warning, a theoretical extreme. No civilized race would actually use it. The representatives voted. The result was unanimous. Every single vote said yes. The formal declaration was drafted that night. It named the 12 great houses of the Vethkai. These noble families had ruled Vethkai civilization for thousands of years. They had ordered the attack. They had approved the destruction of the school. They had laughed at the footage. The declaration was simple. It promised that every member of these bloodlines would die. Not quickly, not mercifully. They would be hunted across the galaxy. They would be found in every hiding place. They would watch their families die before they themselves fell. The galaxy watched this declaration with confusion. Other species did not understand. Humans were small. Humans were young. How could they threaten the mighty Vethkai? One ancient being understood. The Lithoid Elder had lived for 10,000 years. It had watched species rise and fall. It had seen the founding of the Concord. It remembered when humans first reached the stars. "We made an error," the Elder said to the Concord Assembly. "We watched humans. We saw their short lives. We thought this meant they valued existence less than we do. We thought they would be careful, cautious, afraid of death." The Elder paused. Its crystal form pulsed with ancient light. "We were wrong. They do not value their own lives less. They value their children more. More than their own survival. More than peace. More than anything in the universe." The Elder turned to the Vethkai ambassador. The reptilian diplomat was still smiling, still confident, still certain this was a bluff. "You killed their younglings," the Elder said. "You should not have done that. You should not have done that, at all." Nexus Prime was the largest space station in the galaxy. It floated at the center of known space. Every species sent ambassadors here. Every treaty was signed in its great halls. The Galactic Concord met here to decide the fate of civilizations. Today, the assembly chamber was full. Representatives from 300 species filled the curved seats. They had come to watch the humans make their formal declaration. Most expected a dramatic protest. Some expected demands for compensation. A few expected threats. None of them expected what came next. Ambassador James Okonkwo walked to the speaking platform. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. He had served humanity for 40 years. He had negotiated peace treaties. He had prevented wars. He was known throughout the galaxy as a calm and reasonable voice. Today his voice was different. "Honored representatives of the Galactic Concord," he began, "I come before you not to negotiate, not to demand, not to threaten. I come to inform you of what will happen." He lifted a small device. A holographic display appeared above the platform. Faces appeared. Small faces, young faces, human children. Maria Santos, age 6. She wanted to be a doctor when she grew up. She wrote stories about healing sick aliens and making friends across the galaxy. The assembly was silent. Thomas Chen, age 8. He loved mathematics. His teachers said he could become a great scientist. He was learning about black holes when he died. Okonkwo continued, name after name, face after face. 47 children. He spoke each name clearly. He described their dreams, their hopes, their favorite games, their last words to their parents. It took nearly 30 minutes. No one interrupted. No one moved. The weight of those names filled the chamber like water, filling a sinking ship. When he finished, Okonkwo lowered the device. His face was stone. These children died because Warlord Sithrak of the Vethkai wanted minerals. They died because he thought humans were weak. They died because no one believed we would respond with anything but words. He straightened his shoulders. Humanity hereby invokes the doctrine of bloodline accountability. We declare the 12 great houses of the Vethkai to be enemies of our species. We will hunt them. We will find them. We will end their bloodlines completely. This is not a threat. This is not a negotiation. This is a statement of fact. The chamber exploded with noise. Representatives shouted. Some demanded order. Others demanded clarification. The Vethkai ambassador pushed forward through the crowd. "This is absurd," the reptilian diplomat laughed. "You cannot be serious. Your military is respectable but small. We have 1,000 warships. You have perhaps 200. This bluff will not work on us." It was not a warm smile. "Ambassador, you misunderstand. We are not sending a fleet. We are sending our species." He activated another display. Star maps appeared. Red dots marked human colonies. Blue lines showed ship movements. The entire map was covered in converging paths. Every military vessel humanity possesses is now moving toward Vethkai space. Every civilian ship capable of carrying weapons is being armed. Every retired soldier is returning to service. Every factory is producing weapons. Every citizen who can hold a gun is volunteering. The map zoomed out. More and more blue lines appeared. From every corner of human space, ships were launching. "We are not going to war with you," Okonkwo said. "We are going to erase you. Your great houses, your noble families, every drop of blood that connects to those who ordered this attack. We will hunt them for as long as it takes. We will spend every resource we have. We will sacrifice everything if necessary." The Vethkai ambassadors stopped laughing. "You would destroy yourselves just to hurt us?" "No," Okonkwo said. "We would destroy ourselves to avenge our children. There is a difference. You will understand it soon." The elder races watched in horror. They had created the doctrine of bloodline accountability thousands of years ago. They had written it as the ultimate deterrent. The logic was simple. If a species knew that harming children would result in their complete destruction, they would never harm children. But no one had ever actually used it. The law existed only as a warning, a theoretical extreme. A civilized species would negotiate, would accept compensation, would move on. Humanity was proving that it was not a civilized species, not when its children were involved. Its voice rumbled through the chamber like distant thunder. "I have lived for 10,000 years. I have watched many species. I have seen wars and genocides. I have seen empires rise and fall. But I have never seen anything like humans." It turned its crystalline body toward the assembly. "We assumed their short lives made them careless. We assumed their emotions made them weak. We were wrong. Their short lives make every moment precious. Their emotions make them capable of love beyond our understanding. And when that love is attacked, they become something else entirely." The elder paused. "They become vengeance itself." In human space, the mobilization continued. Ships launched from every world. Old veterans reported for duty. Young volunteers lined up outside recruitment centers. Factories ran day and night, producing weapons and ammunition. On New Haven, Admiral Helena Vance visited the ruins of Sunrise Valley. She stood where the school had been. Workers were still removing rubble, still finding small bodies. A young officer approached her carefully. "Admiral, the fleet is ready. We await your orders." Vance did not turn around. She was looking at a small shoe that lay in the dust. A child's shoe. Pink with small flowers on it. My granddaughter Sarah had shoes like these, she said quietly. She was 5 years old. She liked to dance. She would spin around until she fell over laughing. The officer said nothing. They crushed her under 1,000 tons of rubble. They recorded it and broadcast it across the galaxy. They laughed. Vance finally turned. Her eyes were dry. Her voice was steady. Set course for Vethkai space. All ships. Maximum speed. We will show them what happens when you harm human children. Across the galaxy, the Vethkai were beginning to understand their mistake, but it was far too late. All of them. And they were not coming to negotiate. The galaxy expected a direct assault on the Vethkai homeworld. They expected massive fleet battles. They expected a war of ships and stations. They expected something they could understand. Humanity had other plans. For 150 years, humans had been the newcomers, the young species, the ones who asked questions and took notes and learned from their elders. Other species had taught them, helped them, welcomed them into galactic society. They had also underestimated them. During those 150 years, humans had built something, quietly, carefully. They had created intelligence networks that spread across the galaxy. Human traders knew things. Human diplomats heard things. Human workers in every port and station watched and listened and remembered. Now those networks activated. Within days, humans knew where every member of the 12 great houses lived. They knew their addresses, their ships, their secret retreats, their hidden bunkers. They knew the names of their children and grandchildren. They knew everything. The first house fell on a quiet night. House Kethrix was one of the oldest noble families. They owned 3 star systems. They had estates on a dozen worlds. They thought they were safe. They were not. Human strike teams hit every location at the same moment. There was no warning, no chance to run. Guards died before they could raise alarms. Doors were breached before they could be locked. In 30 minutes, every member of House Kethrix was dead. Humans did not torture them. They did not make them suffer. They simply ended them, quickly and efficiently, like removing a diseased part from a healthy body. The galaxy watched in shock. The Vethkai ambassador screamed for intervention. He demanded that the Concord stop this madness. They are following your law, the Lithoid elder responded. A law that you agreed to when you joined the Concord. A law that promised exactly this consequence for crimes against children. But no one actually uses that law, the ambassador protested. Humans do. House after house fell, night after night, system after system. The great houses tried to run. They scattered across the galaxy. They hid on distant worlds. They changed their names and appearances. It did not matter. Humans found them all. The truly surprising thing was how much help the humans received. Other species began providing information. Some did it because they believed in justice. The children of Sunrise Valley deserved vengeance, and they would help deliver it. Others had their own reasons. The Vethkai had made many enemies over the centuries. They had cheated trading partners. They had stolen territory. They had broken treaties. Many species were happy to see them suffer. And some helped because they were afraid. If humans would do this to the Vethkai, they might do it to anyone. Better to be their friend than their enemy. Warlord Sithrak watched his world collapse. House after house fell. Family after family was erased. He saw the reports. He watched the footage. He began to understand what he had done. He had not simply killed children. He had awakened something terrible. Sithrak gathered his remaining loyal soldiers and ran. He took his fastest ship and fled into the deep black between stars. He would hide. He would wait. Eventually, the humans would lose interest. Eventually, they would stop hunting. He was wrong. Human ships followed him, always behind him, always getting closer. When he jumped to a new system, they were there within hours. When he hid among asteroid fields, they searched every rock. When he ran to the edge of known space, they kept coming. Meanwhile, on the Vethkai homeworld, something unexpected happened. The common people began to revolt. The great houses had ruled for thousands of years. They had been cruel masters. They had taxed heavily and punished harshly. The common Vethkai had no love for their nobles. Now those nobles were bringing destruction upon everyone. The human fleet was getting closer. The humans had made clear that they only wanted the great houses. They had no quarrel with ordinary Vethkai. They would not harm civilians. The common people believed them, and they decided they did not want to die protecting nobles who had never protected them. Riots broke out in every city. Noble estates were burned. Great house members were dragged from hiding places and handed over to human forces. The Vethkai people were choosing survival over loyalty. The humans accepted these surrenders. They treated the common Vethkai fairly. They kept their word. Only the bloodlines were targeted. Only the families of those who had ordered the massacre. This was precise surgical justice. By the third month, 8 of the 12 great houses had been completely erased. Their bloodlines ended, their names removed from history, their estates given to the common people who had served them. Only 4 houses remained, and they were running out of places to hide. Warlord Sithrak received reports from his scattered family members. Cousins killed on distant worlds, nephews captured and executed, sisters and brothers falling one by one. His bloodline was dying, and he could do nothing to stop it. He sent a transmission to the human fleet. His face appeared on their screens. He looked tired and old. His scales had lost their shine. "Enough," he said. "I surrender. I will accept any punishment. Just stop killing my family." Admiral Vance responded personally. Her face was calm. Her voice was ice. "You killed 47 children. You recorded their deaths and broadcast them as a warning. You laughed while doing it." She leaned forward. "We do not want your surrender. We do not want your punishment. We want your extinction. Every drop of your blood will be spilled. Every member of your line will die. This is what you earned when you touched our children." Sithrak stared at the screen. "You are monsters," he whispered. "We are parents," Vance replied. "You should have researched what humans do to those who harm their young." The transmission ended. The hunt continued. And Sithrak knew that his bloodline had only days remaining. In diplomatic halls across the galaxy, species gathered to discuss the humans. They had always known humanity was different. They had always sensed something unusual about these short-lived creatures. Now they were finally beginning to understand. The Kelvari were an insectoid species. They lived for hundreds of years and thought in terms of generations rather than individuals. Their chief analyst presented findings to their ruling council. "We have studied human history," the analyst said. "We believed their wars were primitive expressions of tribal conflict. We were wrong. Their wars reveal something deeper." The display showed images from Earth's past. Cities burning, armies marching, weapons beyond counting. "They have a concept called total war," the analyst continued. "When threatened, they do not simply fight their enemies, they destroy them completely. They have done this to themselves many times. They nearly destroyed their own species with weapons they invented." The council listened in silence. Most species see war as a tool, a way to gain resources or territory. Humans see war differently. When their core values are threatened, they become willing to sacrifice everything. Their lives, their wealth, their civilization. They would rather die than surrender what they hold sacred. The analyst paused. "Children are sacred to them, more sacred than anything else. We should have known. We should have warned the Vethkai." Similar discussions happened across the galaxy. Species that had known humans for decades suddenly saw them differently. The friendly traders became frightening warriors. The curious explorers became relentless hunters. The emotional newcomers became cold executioners. The Concord Assembly met to debate intervention. Some representatives argued that humanity had gone too far. Yes, the Vethkai had committed a terrible crime. But erasing entire bloodlines seemed excessive. Something must be done to stop this. Others disagreed. They are following our law, one ambassador argued. A law we created, a law we agreed to. The doctrine of bloodline accountability exists precisely for this situation. Are we hypocrites who create laws we never intend to enforce? The law was meant as a deterrent, another replied, not as an actual punishment. Then we should not have written it as a punishment. We should have written it as a suggestion. But we did not. We made it law. And now humans are using that law exactly as intended. The debate continued for days. No resolution was reached. The truth was simple. No species wanted to fight humanity right now. The images of their mobilization were terrifying. Every ship, every soldier, every citizen willing to fight. They were not bluffing. They were not negotiating. They were simply doing what they had promised. Meanwhile, human civilians organized support for the war effort. Families sent supplies. Communities raised funds. People who had never met the children of Sunrise Valley wept for them and donated everything they could spare. Letters arrived at New Haven from across human space. Thousands of them. Millions. Messages of support for the survivors. Promises of help. Declarations of solidarity. Humanity was united in grief and anger. On Earth, a memorial service was held. Billions watched as the names of the 47 children were read aloud. Their faces appeared on screens across the planet. Their short lives were remembered. Their lost futures were mourned. The President of Earth spoke to the gathered crowd. These children did not ask for war. They asked for nothing except the chance to grow up, to learn, to play, to become whatever they dreamed of becoming. That chance was stolen from them by those who thought we were weak. She looked into the camera. We are not weak. We are not merciful. We are not forgiving. Not for this. Never for this. Our children are everything to us. Everything. And anyone in this galaxy who forgets that will learn it again through blood and fire. The speech was broadcast across the galaxy. Other species watched it carefully. They saw something in human eyes that they had never noticed before. A fierce, protective love that burned like a star. A willingness to sacrifice anything for the young. Admiral Vance continued to lead the hunt, but she took no joy in it. Late at night she walked the corridors of her flagship alone. She looked at pictures of her grandchildren on her personal device. She remembered their laughter, their hugs, their small voices asking endless questions. One of her officers found her staring out a window at the stars. "Are you all right?" Vance did not turn around. "I keep hoping I will feel better. I keep hoping that killing them will bring some peace, but it does not. Nothing brings them back. Nothing fills the emptiness. Then why do we continue?" Vance finally turned. Her eyes were wet, but her voice was steady. "Because this is not about feeling better. This is about making certain it never happens again. When this is over, every species in the galaxy will know. Human children are untouchable. Protected by something more powerful than any fleet. Protected by human rage." She wiped her eyes. "My grandchildren are gone. I cannot save them. But I can save every human child who comes after. I can make certain that no alien ever thinks of harming them. That is enough. It has to be enough." The hunt neared its end. Only Scythrak and his immediate bloodline remained. They were cornered on a dead moon at the edge of known space. There was nowhere left to run. 47 human ships surrounded the moon. One ship for each child killed at Sunrise Valley. They waited in perfect formation, patient, relentless, inevitable. Sithrak looked at his remaining family, his sons, his daughters, his grandchildren. They huddled together in the bunker. They knew what was coming. "I am sorry," Sithrak said. "I did not know. I did not understand what they were." His eldest son looked at him with hollow eyes. "You killed their children. What did you think would happen?" Sithrak had no answer. He had thought humans were weak. He had thought they would protest and complain and eventually accept payment. He had never imagined they would burn everything to ash just to make a point. He had been so terribly wrong. The human ships began their approach. The final battle was about to begin. The dead moon had no name. It was a forgotten rock in an empty system. No one had ever cared about it. Now it would become famous. Now it would be remembered forever. Warlord Sithrak watched the human ships approach. 47 vessels in perfect formation. They moved slowly, deliberately. They had all the time in the universe. Their prey had nowhere to run. His family gathered in the main bunker. 23 Vethkai remained, the last of his bloodline. Sons and daughters, grandchildren, nephews and nieces. All that remained of a noble house that had ruled for 3,000 years. "We can fight," his eldest son said. "We still have weapons. We still have soldiers." Sithrak shook his head. It would change nothing. They would still win, and they would still kill us. "Then what do we do?" "We die. That is all that is left." A transmission came through. Admiral Vance appeared on the screen. Behind her stood officers from every human colony. Representatives from Earth, from Mars, from the distant settlements. All of humanity united against him. "Warlord Sithrak," Vance said, "this is your final moment. Do you have any words?" Sithrak stood straight. Even now he had pride. Even now he would not beg. "You call us monsters. You call yourselves righteous. But look at what you have done. You have erased 12 noble houses, thousands of my people. For what? Revenge? Justice?" Vance did not flinch. 47 children were learning mathematics when you killed them. They were writing stories and drawing pictures and dreaming about the future. One little girl was writing a story about meeting aliens and becoming friends. She wanted to explore the galaxy. She wanted to see wonders. Vance leaned forward. "You crushed her under rubble. You recorded it. You broadcast it as a warning. You laughed while the dust settled on their bodies." Her voice dropped to something cold and final. "This is proportional. This is exactly what you earned. You touched our children. Now your bloodline ends." Sithrak roared at the screen. "This is barbarism. You pretend to be civilized, but you are worse than any species in the galaxy. You are savages." A new voice answered him, a human commander named Chen. He had lost 2 nephews at Sunrise Valley. "You are wrong. We are not savages. Savages kill without thought, without purpose. We are something more dangerous. We are patient, we are thorough, we remember everything, and we never forgive harm to our young." Commander Chen smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "Savages would have killed you quickly in rage. We took our time. We planned. We made certain every single member of your guilty bloodlines would pay. That is not barbarism. That is human justice." The human ships opened fire. The battle lasted less than 10 minutes. Sithrak's defenses were swept away like dust. His soldiers died at their posts. His family bunker was breached. Human soldiers poured inside with weapons ready. They found Sithrak holding an energy pistol. He pointed it at the soldiers. His hand was shaking. "Stay back," he hissed. "I will kill you." A human soldier removed her helmet. She was young, barely 20 years old. She looked at the warlord without fear. "You can try, but it will not change anything. Your bloodline ends today. Make peace with whatever gods you pray to." Sithrak fired. The shot went wide. The human soldiers did not fire back. They simply advanced, patient, relentless. In the end, Sithrak died like a cornered animal, fighting, screaming, unable to accept that his long bloodline had come to its end. His children died beside him. His grandchildren died in the inner rooms, not made to suffer, simply ended, quickly and efficiently. When it was over, Admiral Vance walked through the bunker. She looked at the bodies. She felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not joy, just emptiness. "It is done," she said quietly. "Notify the Concord. The doctrine of bloodline accountability has been fulfilled. The 12 great houses of the Vethkai are extinct." The galaxy received the news in silence. The war was over. Humanity had done exactly what it promised. Not more, not less. They had erased the guilty bloodlines and stopped. The Vethkai common people were spared. The ordinary citizens, who had not participated in the massacre, were allowed to rebuild their civilization. Humanity had been precise, targeted, terrifyingly efficient. Ambassador Okonkwo returned to the Concord Assembly. He stood at the same platform where he had first spoken the names of the dead children. Every species had sent representatives to hear what he would say. "We did not do this with joy," Okonkwo said. "We did not do this out of hatred. We did this because you wrote a law that said some crimes are unforgivable, a law that promised total consequences for harm to children." He looked around the chamber. "We hope no one ever has reason to invoke that law again. We hope every species in this galaxy remembers what happened here. Human children are protected, by law, by custom, by the certain knowledge of what will follow any who harm them." He paused. "We are a friendly species. We trade fairly. We keep our treaties. We believe in second chances for most offenses. But some things have no second chance. Some lines cannot be crossed. You all know now where that line is." He stepped down from the platform. The assembly was silent. On New Haven, a new school was built where the old one had stood. It was beautiful. White walls and green gardens and playgrounds filled with laughter. Inside, children learned about history. They learned about the HFY War. They learned what their species had done. The teacher was a young woman named Lisa. She had been 7 years old when the attack happened. She had hidden in a different shelter. She had survived, while her friends died. Now she taught their memory to a new generation. "The galaxy learned something about us that day," she told her students. "They learned that we would sacrifice everything to protect our young. They learned that our love was stronger than any weapon." A child raised her hand. "Were we the good guys or the bad guys?" Lisa considered the question carefully. "We were parents. We were siblings. We were family. Good and bad are complicated questions, but one thing is simple. We protected our children. We made certain no one would ever harm them again." She smiled sadly. "That is what humans do." Years later, a delegation from a distant species arrived at Earth. They were new to space travel. They had heard stories about humanity, but wanted to see for themselves. Their diplomat met with human officials. "We have heard things," the alien said nervously. "We have heard about the Vethkai, about what you did to them. Is it true?" The human diplomat was a kind woman with warm eyes. She smiled gently. "We are a very friendly species. We trade fairly. We keep our treaties. We believe in peace and cooperation. We welcome new species to the galactic community." She leaned forward slightly. "Just do not harm our children, ever, for any reason, and we will remain the best friends you could hope for." The alien diplomat nodded quickly. The message was clear. Across the galaxy, a new proverb spread. It was spoken in 1,000 languages, on 1,000,000 worlds. A warning passed from generation to generation. Humanity forgives much, but never harm their younglings. For that, they will end your bloodline and salt the stars where you stood. And no species ever forgot it.